IVM.
Hello one, hello all. Welcome to the Diary of the Traveling Professor. And I'm Siddharth Deshmukh, your friendly neighborhood traveling professor, speaking from London, no less. And I've been here for a few days. Welcome to this diary entry of mine, wherein I talk about what my observations have been as I traveled from Pune to Mumbai to Frankfurt and to London, and kind of figured out a few life lessons and how the world around us, including the digital part and the physical part, are actually impacting us. The most important thing that I did realize was how similar we are. You know, we pride ourselves on our cultural differences and our individualistic traits, and we all love to think that we are rebels. But if everybody wears a pair of jeans, nobody's a rebel. I guess I've said that a few times before. The fact is that I realized that this virus, this pandemic, has been an absolute equalizer. Right from my cab driver, as I went from Pune to Mumbai, to the line outside the airport where everybody was hanging around, to the immigration desk, to the flight waiting lounge, to the actual flight itself, to the stopover, to the time spent during the stopover in the lounge, to you taking off again, to coming to London, to taking a cab from London to home. Everybody was wearing a mask. Now that is very interesting levels of conformity, my friend. I think for people who pride themselves on individualistic differences. Is it the end of individualistic differences that we are seeing now because of this pandemic? Or are these individualistic differences actually becoming a little different now, a little more subtle, right? So the fact is, perhaps they are, and I'll talk to you about it and the way in which I'm seeing these differences play out. But let's talk of the similarities first. The biggest similarity that I do see is across all of the places that I traveled recently, everyone seemed a little mildly depressed. No one was happy. Of course, how can you be happy? But a lot of times, you know what I mean? A lot of times when you were sad, you always felt there were some happy people somewhere on the other side of the earth having a good old time. Somebody was happy, at least. Maybe it made you feel a little jealous. Maybe it made you feel a little sad. Maybe it made you feel a little happy, right? I don't know what your individual reaction to it was. But what I have noticed is a sameness of emotion. People have become bored. People have become a little mildly, sad or depressed. I'm not using the clinical term, but generally downbeat. You know what I mean? Downbeat. Across cultures, people seem to have kind of slooped their shoulders a bit. Now, that's a very sad thing to see, but it's a fascinating thing to see as well, as to how uniform our reactions are. So the next time when you're trying to create a business model or trying to talk about how different your idea is and how unique your customers are, or how fantastic your product differentiation is, or how different you are from other people around you, just remember, there is a huge degree of sameness for us as human beings. We do feel the same way. And this is where all your racial and your caste and your wealth and all those differentiators that have been the scourge of society just go down by the wayside. Why? Fucking virus has beat us, right? All of us, hollow. Everyone is in the same bloody boat, right? All these so-called events that would have been celebrated by the media, right? Whether it is some building of some temple or whether it is, doing something else, which is big, which would have been big news in any other year, has become kind of trivial, kind of mundane, kind of ordinary, because we've realized that there is way more similarities rather than differences in the way in which we operate as human beings. So that is my key observation. And I think if we can find some creative applications of this observation and figure out how we can serve humanity differently, it is going to really help us. Okay? And it could actually help you build the next kick-ass app that is going to take the world by storm. So take these words seriously a little, right? Not kidding. Maybe just but not really. The second thing which I noticed is that every culture has had its own challenges based upon how wealthy or how, with it, or how struggling it was in the first place. Now, India used to struggle with two things. One was the concept of personal space. Everyone used to crowd each other, and all of us were guilty of that. And the second was one of personal hygiene. So because of, us eating and spitting pan and various things, I think these were two things that certainly stood out in a negative way, at least to my mind, as compared to any other country. I'm not talking of the West, any other country. Now I've realized that people, because of this pandemic, have kind of become better on these two things. So I just wanted to share that with you. You have Indians who actually, because of fear, give each other that space, that physical space. And you have Indians like us actually making sure that they are having more personal hygiene than ever before. So every culture has changed. Every culture has seen its own blind spots and tried to do something about it. Americans are actually looking at individualism, which they used to look at as a great plus, now suddenly as a great minus. They think that their exceptionalism has led them towards having more COVID cases and deaths because everyone's out on their own trip. So you have another culture which is now kind of seeing its own blind spots and, changing it itself. I'm sure each and every culture is like that. These are just two examples. But these are some of the ways in which we are connected with each other. We are all actually recognizing how similar we are to each other, and we are all recognizing our own blind spots. I think these are some of the subtler benefits that have come out of us actually experiencing this pandemic as the human race. I know this is like looking for the silver lining, perhaps where it does not exist, but I genuinely think that some of these lessons are going to be very, very useful for us in our immediate future. I hope you like this diary entry of mine. Many more to come from where this came from, right? And if you like the funnier side of me, go to Instagram. I'm the traveling professor over there. On LinkedIn, there's some serious posts, okay? But not too serious, of course. Tell Me About It is a program YouTube channel that is out there, wherein I talk to industry experts and so many other places you can find me around, right? You can find me around. The traveling professor is always hopefully traveling, not grounded anymore. And until next time, do download the IVM Podcast app or just go to ivmpodcast.com if you like podcasts like these. Until next time then, ciao.
I hope you enjoyed that show. I'd like to thank our sponsors this week, Paytm Money. So it's been a really, really fun week this week. We've had a great episode with Anand Neelakantan on Cyrus Says. Anand was one of the writers of Bahubali, and it's done some really, really fun stuff since that. Ashish Vidyarthi also had a really good episode on his show, Begin the Journey. Please do check that out. You do know Yuddha is back, right? Definitely check it out if you haven't. Yuddha is our show about Indian ancient warfare. It's hosted by Anirudh Kanisetti and Aditya Ramanathan. Really, really great show. You should check that out for sure. And I forgot. Rishikesh was on the network as well. He was on Absolutely Right with Aditi Sarana. Do definitely check that out. With that, hope to see you next week.
How many times have you motivated yourself to improve your sleep or lose weight or be more productive? How many times have you failed? Hi, my name is Ashton Doctor. Tune into my show, The Habit Coach Podcast, where we focus on creating small, tiny habits to improve your life instead of those big, impossible tasks. So make listening to me a habit every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on the IVM Podcast app or ivmpodcast.com or on your favorite podcasting app.